Where they're going to meet physically next week is Bletchley Park.
Indeed.
Because, of course, they're having the UK AI Summit. Although actually there won't be, there'll be quite a lot of tech representation there, but not across the board. One of the very odd things about next week's summit is you have the big tech companies represented big time, but actually very few of the British AI companies represented there. So that's another oddity. But it indicates, how the global engines of growth are developing right now. If you ask me what can government do about AI, one of the problems is that what's happened in the AI sphere in the last year, which is really a shift from what people call symbolic systems of AI, which write code and rules about how AI is going to operate preemptively, as opposed to statistical systems of AI like ChatGPT, or based on natural language processing models, which essentially operate not by pre-writing code, but by essentially mimicking humans by observing them on a massive scale. That shift has been driven by about 200 people. So there's about 200 people who are really the key players in this space right now, in the West. I'm leaving outside China.
Yeah.
As it happens, the UK has played a key role in actually generating some of those 200 people. Someone like Jeff Hinton, who was at King's in Cambridge, is called the godfather of AI. He's been critical to Google's development in that field. Someone like Demis Hassabis, who created DeepMind, again, is critical. So you've got quite a few Brits in there, although a lot of them have migrated to the US. But it's literally only 200 people. And by the way, their salaries are going up through the roof right now, unsurprisingly. And there's really only 4 companies that are driving the base systems, not the applications, but the base systems. And that means that those people understand it, and almost nobody else does. There's a huge gap in understanding. And there's almost no one in Congress who has the foggiest idea how these systems really work. Congress in 2016 had more talk show radio hosts than it had scientists in Congress. True fact. And scientists in America were so horrified by that fact that they actually went out and created a political action group to recruit more scientists to get involved in politics. To my knowledge, the UK doesn't even have a political action group, and I don't know how many scientists there are in the House of Parliament, but I bet my bottom dollar there aren't that many. And that's a problem. So do I trust governments to regulate it? No. Do I trust the AI companies themselves to regulate it? Probably no, not either. But it's going to need some kind of regulation and control going forward, because if not, that's quite scary.
Because I think it was Jeff Hinton who raised the flag just a couple of months ago, saying, essentially, alarm, alarm.
Yeah, I mean, if any of you have got, time on your hands to spare and want to understand this, Jeff Hinton gave a brilliant interview at King's, actually, on this issue, where he expressed his concerns, not just about the bigger existential risks that the machines might go mad and take over the world and kill us all, but actually the very immediate risks that, in the 2024 election, we may have an absolute proliferation of deep fakes and manipulation that way. And that's going to be a top topic of discussion next week in Bletchley Park. And there are things you can do about that. I mean, I was with Yuval Harari today, the author of Sapiens, who comes out with some really good, sensible ideas, like, you could use a lot of existing legislation to try and control AI. Counterfeiting, that's really well established in the financial sphere. You can't counterfeit money. You could very easily, and this is Yuval's idea, you could very easily apply that to the AI sector and say you can't counterfeit humans. You can't create fake bots, or you will go to jail. You don't need new laws. You just take the ones from the financial world and apply them into the tech sector. You could use issues around watermarking and require content to be watermarked. They've talked about that already, and I think probably next week they'll come out with something on that to mean that people can check whether the provenance is real or not. So the things you can do around all of that, quite immediately, which would be, at least progress. But the big question is, how are you going to stop the incipient capabilities that are emerging? So aside from Jeff Hinton's video, Tristram Harris, who is one of the West Coast techies who has spent the last decade warning about social media. He was previously at Google designing social media apps. He's now produced a fantastic video that explains what's going on in AI and why some of it's quite so dangerous. The thing I would stress, though, is I'm not in the camp of people who say it's all doom and disaster at all, because just being in King's in Cambridge in the last 3 weeks, I mean, it is stunning what AI is doing for research in terms of biological research. I mean, absolutely unimaginable leaps in research capabilities in terms of neuroscience, in terms of biology, in terms of engineering. I mean, the way that people at Cambridge, and I dare say the other universities as well, are using AI tools for positive research benefits right now would blow your mind. So that's a good side, and we have to find out a way to harness that in a positive way.